Hi, and welcome to episode 7 of my hardcore goalkeeper playthrough. Before I jump into the gameplay, there's a couple of things I wanted to let you guys know. And hopefully it will explain how this playthrough is going to work and the changes that are happening. So I've decided that core keeper isn't the right game for me to stream at the moment because I'm struggling to play it and stay alive because it's a permadeath run, and to dodge attacks, fight enemies, move around, craft, create, all that stuff. I'm struggling to do that as well as chat to my wonderful viewers, which I really enjoy. It just takes too much of my concentration to play the game. So when I end up in a conversation with viewers, it means that my character will often, and I've seen this on the VOD quite a bit, there'll just be 5-10 minutes where I'm standing still, doing nothing, and I don't want to ignore my viewers and just play the game, and I also don't want to just talk to my viewers and play no games. So my current plan, and of course I'm quite new to this, so maybe it will change next week, but my current plan is to go back to streaming hardcore classic WoW on Sunday evenings, because even though the stakes are really high because it's a permadeath game, I find it way less intense action-wise to play classic WoW than I do core keeper. So I think that'll be easier to play and chat with viewers sort of simultaneously. I'm going to be streaming on Tuesdays pretty soon. I've finally ordered a second monitor and a monitor stand, so I will be setting that up this week, hopefully ready to start my Tuesday variety game, which is going to be Final Fantasy X, the remaster. And then I was going to see how it goes. I'll sort of watch the VODs back, I'll chat to some of you guys and see what you think, and I'll just go with whatever feels right. So my plan for core keeper, which you're watching or listening to right now, is to try recording it in a let's play fashion. So this is my first ever let's play. Feels kind of weird not to have Twitch chat to my side, kind of saying things. So these YouTube videos for core keeper are going to be me playing the game, and mostly I'm going to be talking to you about the game itself and my decisions and explaining what I'm doing. Of course, talking at length about what I love about the game as well. And I'm sure you'll get bits and pieces about me as well and kind of what's going on for me. But hopefully it'll be a let's play of Martin, that's my character in core keeper, his journey, and I'd really love to complete it, whether that means Martin dies, hopefully not, maybe, or it might mean that we finish the whole game. I'd love to sort of round off his story and see how it ends, and then who knows, maybe we go into a hardcore hard difficulty playthrough, which would be quite something. But who knows? I'll cross that bridge when I get to it. So yeah, let's jump into episode 7, which is the first episode of the Let's Play. I don't plan to record everything I'm still going to be doing a fair bit. I was going to say off stream, but it's not streaming, so off camera, maybe, let's say. So a lot of the more, I wouldn't call it tedious, but a lot of the more sort of menial things like the crafting and the base building and the farming and the fishing, I might do off camera. And then that means we can do the more engaging stuff for the Let's Play. So in today's episode, we are going to fight the next 2 bosses. So I have made the world scanner for the next slime boss, called Morpha, the aquatic mass. And if you remember, we fought the first boss of the game was Glurch, the abominous mass, the kind of the big orange slime, and he was fought just down here in this kind of slime arena. The second slime boss we fought was Ivy, the poisonous mass, and that was up here. And the next slime boss we've got is somewhere here in the sunken sea, and we're going to use the scanner to find out where that boss is. I love the animation of that. I think it's really cool, the sound effect and the kind of glowing thing. So there we go, there is the next boss, kind of close to where I've travelled before, but not quite. And while we're here, let's use the next main boss we're going to be taking on. So this is the main boss you need to do for progression, is Omoroth the Sea Titan. Let's see where he is. Okay, he's even closer. So the teleporter, the waypoint we've unlocked is here. So we're gonna teleport, and then we'll do the optional boss first. We'll do the slime boss, and then we'll come down and attempt the progression boss. So let me give you a little bit of an update on my base and my sort of equipment setup, and then we will go and face the bosses. So I have expanded my farm. This was a little test I did with I couldn't remember if the sunken sea water was special or if I needed to travel there to fish. It does work, so I have set up my fishing area. I've extended it so it now has a sea biome. And just before recording this, I was doing some fishing and I managed to fish up the diving helm. If you've watched the previous episodes, you'll remember, well, you might remember, that we've got 1 piece of fishing gear from each of the biomes. We now have the complete 5 set, which gives us a 29% extra chance to get a double fish when we catch one, which is pretty cool. And the other item I made, which is really, really important for this area that we're going into, is the speeder. So the standard boat that you make is quite slow, and if you get quite a bit of resources, you can make the speeder, which is what we're going to use. I've made the summoning item for the main boss, which requires lots of different fishing lures to kind of combine. I think I said this last time, but I often find my tongue and teeth get caught when I say the word lure. Lure doesn't sound right, and lure doesn't, so I don't know if you guys ever have that thing where a particular word sounds really weird. But I've made that, so we're gonna fish to summon the main boss. I've made a necklace which gives me 17% more boat speed. So movement speed increases. So if you look here, I have a 120.5% movement speed. So 20.5% faster than standard. That doesn't mean anything when you're in a boat. What matters is the speed of the boat, which we have the best one. And you can get some gear that gives you boat speed as well. So I've swapped out the critical necklace. So we're going to do less damage, but we're going to be faster, which means dodging is easier. And the other change I've made is I've swapped out my offhand, which was the short range teleport, because that's also useless in the boat, you can't use it. And the stats bonus we get is magic damage, which is useless for us because we're ranged. Physical range damage. So I've made an octarine shield and upgraded it, so it gives me more health, more armor, and it gives me a what's the word I'm looking for? A small increase to my ranged attack speed. There are quite a few other options that I think are better, but I don't have any of them, and I can't be bothered to go and farm them. So I'm going to use this one. I think it'll be plenty good enough. So that's the kind of fishing update. I've made the next set of furnaces, which make galaxite bars, which is what we're going to get in the next area after the sunken sea. So we're prepared for that. And farming wise, or gardening wise I should say, because the farm is up here with the animals, I'll go there in a minute. Gardening wise, I've hit 100 skill, which means I now have all the talents I want. And the main one I'm interested in at the moment is this one, which gives us an extra 15% chance to plant golden plants, because we're going to be using those to make the best food buffs in the game. So the other talent that's really good is the 25% critical hit damage increase. And Thorns is like it doesn't reflect damage, but it deals damage. It's a bit like, if you were to touch a hedgehog, it would hurt. It's kind of like that. Anytime an enemy or a boss deals damage to us, we deal 50 damage back to them. So it's a nice addition. I have upgraded my wood farm, so I now have the coral wood, which we get in the sunken sea biome. And I've expanded my conveyor belt, so that's going to pick it up and bring it to the entrance here, so I can just easily collect it. The pet I'm going to use for these bosses, the land boss, we're going to use Judith. Judith's really good for us at the moment. We're eventually going to upgrade to another pet. When we fight the sea boss, pets don't matter, because we're going to be in the boat, and which gets rid of your pet. And up next, I'll show you... I can't remember if I showed this on stream last time, but I've made an area which spawns mold enemies, and this is really good for me training my skills, like just happened there. We got a vitality increase, so that's going to give us some more damage reduction from bosses, which is nice. But it's also really good for training our range skill, which is at 89. But the main reason I made this mob farm is because there's a really good necklace that gives a large damage increase to physical range damage, which is what we're doing. And it has I think it's about a 0.5% chance to spawn from these mobs, so we're probably going to need to kill a lot. It's not this ring, this is a summoning ring. So let me just quickly do those. And finally, before we go, I'll show you my kind of buff area, the food thing. So at the moment I'm just making some the standard food I use to keep my hunger levels topped up. Or not my hunger levels, keeps hunger at bay, it tops up my satiety levels. And that's also helping me train cooking to 100, which we really want to get this talent here, which I'll explain when we eventually get there. So these are just ways for me to, I've got a level of cooking there. So we're almost there. And it's also a great way of making money. We've got plenty of coins for what we're doing at the moment. At the moment I'm stockpiling quite a lot of money, Don't have much to spend it on at the moment. However, once we get to the higher levels and we can upgrade our gear to, 15, 16, 17, 18 plus kind of thing, it starts costing, I think it's about 500 to 1,000 coins each time, so we need all the coins we can get right now. And this is my food setup, so I've got my golden plant ingredients, and having 2 goldens together gives you an even better increase. So these are all the foods I have down here. So we've got increase in armor, increase in max health from this one. It also gives us physical damage and knockback, but that doesn't do anything for us because we're ranged. This one gives us 20% damage against bosses, ranged attack speed, damage reduction, and ranged damage increase. That's a really, really good combination. This one gives us increased healing over time, which is going to be really useful. This one gives us movement speed, 45.2% movement speed for over 2 minutes, which is really nice. Most boss fights in this game don't take longer than 1 to 2 minutes on this difficulty, so that should be plenty. This one gives us 14% dodge chance, which is really cool. This one gives us plus 39% critical hit damage, which is amazing. And this one gives us a 45 magic barrier. So magic, we haven't used them much in this game because we haven't played a magic playthrough. But magic barrier is like a temporary shield that when you get damaged, it takes it from the barrier first, and then if you don't take damage for a certain amount of time, the barrier will recharge. So personally, if it's a choice between armor or magic barrier, I'll choose armor because armor always works. But magic barrier, hey, it's free from a piece of food, so why not? And then we now have access to the Guardian's Potion, which gives us another 12% damage reduction against bosses. And something that's important to know is that the buffs from food and the buffs from the majority of potions in the game, they stack, so they don't overwrite each other, which means that... Which one is it? This one here, there you go, 13% damage reduction from bosses. This will stack with this, so they combine really nicely together. I've still got my greater healing potions, so that is us pretty much decked out. Before I forget though, because we are fighting the slime boss first, I'm going to use the kind of land combat set for these two. Hopefully I'll remember when we fight the sea boss to use these two. So I believe that's everything I want to kind of update you on. It's time to do some fighting. So I think the order I'm going to do it in, it's sort of an order of difficulty. We're going to travel to some of these question marks first because they are like open world ruins. And we're going to clear those out. I'm going to show you the kind of mini biomes. And once we've done a couple of those, we're then going to fight Morpha, the aquatic slime boss. Even though he's called the aquatic mass, we fight him on land. And then we're going to fight Omoroth, and then that will probably be it for today's episode. I haven't really decided on the time length. It will mostly be sort of bite-sized pieces, maybe an hour to an hour and a half, depending on how long I talk for and explain stuff and how long I fight. And then in between I'll do all the preparing for next time, and then so hopefully each of these episodes is a boss fight or two and some gameplay. So let's head over here. I'll probably forget something and then teleport back as I usually do. Yeah, what you might notice is if you've been watching the streams, is that when I start talking to chat, I stop playing. That's a random event that happens. There's like a kind of a mini tidal wave that goes through. So when I'm in sort of dangerous areas, you'll probably hear me talk less, and that's because my brain is hard at work concentrating on on staying alive. But this is my favourite zone in the game. I love the colour blue. I love water and the sea and swimming and all things kind of nautical like that. And I love the shock. I love the music here. I think it's a really great theme. And here we are at our first, I believe these are called metropolises. I think they're called sunken metropolises, but I could be wrong. So we're gonna park up, pick up our boat, and head on in. So these crates are destructible. We've got a nice little music change as well. But it kind of looks like an ancient civilization once lived here. And the game doesn't have a great deal of lore, kind of backstory to it. But from what... I won't give any spoilers for what's kind of coming up later. But from what we've explored so far, it seems that there's some kind of ancient civilization was here. And we've been exploring the world itself, and we've been exploring the civilization that were here before us. So I tend to pop a torch down here and there just to remind myself that, hey, I've explored this area. There are enemies here, I just haven't encountered any yet. Our pickaxe still isn't strong enough to break these walls. Later on, when we go into the higher zones, we can come back and, you know, destroy all of it, but at the moment we have to kind of follow its natural pathways. Okay, here we go. So we got these kind of guardian enemies. Oh, that's a lot of projectiles. That's quite a few. I'm going to try and line of sight. There we go, that's much easier. So we've got these sort of stone, like, construct guardians, and we've got these... they're called scholars, and they use magic weapons. So, as with a lot of games, I think it's quite common in most games, the sort of magic wielding characters tend to be weaker to kill. You know, less health, less armor, but they tend to do more damage, and that's true in this game as well. Like, most of the magic enemies take a couple of hits, but they do hit quite hard. So as long as we stick to the kind of corridors, line of sight, don't go charging headlong into a room, then we should be okay. Famous last words. The weapon I'm using at the moment is the octarine bow. I quite like variety, so I'm trying out as many of the ranged weapons as I can as I go. If you remember earlier, we were using the iron bow. If you upgrade the iron bow to level 12, which is the same level as the bow I have at the moment, it is pretty much the same, if not slightly better. The main difference is the iron bow gives plus range damage, whereas this gives range attack speed. The damage range itself is about the same, the attack speed is the same. The base attack speed, that is. So if you are kind of optimizing it a bit more, there's no real need to make the octarine bow. I just saw it as an option and thought, I'll try it out, see what it's like. And this is a little sneak preview of not the next biome, but the biome afterwards. But that's much too high level for us at the moment, so we're going to come back. The other weapon that I carry on me is the quill rifle, which attacks 4 times a second. It does low damage, but it has a really, really high attack speed. And I tend to use that when I'm exploring lower level areas that I've cleared out before. And I use it when I go into my mob farm as well, because the super high attack speed means that it gives me a lot of experience to level up. That was... I just walked in the same direction as that one, so... It's like they say, never try and... I could be getting this wrong, but I think the advice for things like tornadoes is don't try and escape it running away from it. Try and go to the side. And that kind of reminds me of what I just did there. Always try and dodge to the side. If I was a bit more worried, I would use a full set of buffs, but I'm going to save those for the bosses. When we go into the next area, which is the desert biome, I will be using quite a few buff foods because there are some very, very scary enemies. But we have that to look forward to in probably the next episode. Oops, that was the wrong keybind. There's something so satisfying in, I think, all video games where there's a kind of a corridor and you can just shoot down the corridor and hit what's coming through. Making use of line of sight. I remember, I don't know if... oh, we've got a little party of scholars coming to attack us. Luckily we've got the ranger set, which means our attacks pass through one enemy. Oh yeah, this area at the moment gives me... it reminds me of a game I played years and years and years ago called Aquaria. I don't know if any of you have... If you have played Aquaria or heard of Aquaria, I'd love to see you let me know. But it's an underwater exploration game with some, you know, combat and some really cool mechanics. And I don't quite know what it is. There's just something about underwater and sea and nautical themes that I really like. A big fan of Subnautica and, you know, all that sort of underwater exploration. It's a bit more inviting than the... I live quite close to the sea in the UK, and the water we have here is... well, put it this way, I wouldn't want to open my eyes underwater and try and go exploring. It's pretty murky. And pretty cold most of the time. Although I did go to the beach this weekend, just gone with some friends, and it was pretty warm. You know, it's quite hot at the moment. We've got a bit of a heat wave in the UK, and the water was quite pleasant. But most of the year, it's pretty cold. So this is, yeah, I think this is why the Sunken Sea is probably my favourite zone in the whole of this game. So I'm just seeing... I'm not too bothered if I don't fully explore this place, but I'd like to... Yeah, I'd like to show you guys, if you've never played this game before, kind of what... Everything in the game. I'm not going to be doing a full completionist run. I'm not going to show you every secret and every location and things, but I'll show you all the main stuff. I'll show you all the bosses. I will hopefully show you at some point every enemy in the game. I'm going to try and craft all of the legendary stuff as well. I might not do the legendary stuff for for damage types that we're not using, but I'll definitely craft the legendary bow, the legendary pickaxe. So it looks like we're coming to the end of this one. They always tend to surprise me at how sprawling they become. It's quite cool to see on the map, kind of where we started, where we disembarked from our speedboat and kind of ran through. There's probably an area there as well, but like I said, I'm not too worried if I don't 100% the whole thing. So that's the music change back to the open water, and then the music change back to the metropolis. There we go, we've got another party coming. So one of the items I picked up there was an oracle card, and it's one I've already got. But if you collect the full set, you can make a pretty cool item. So I will try and get that as well. But it looks like we are just about done. So I'm going to head to the sort of landing pad. Landing pad sounds more like an aircraft rather than a boat. Maybe it's the dock. Let's get in our trusty speedboat. Just going to do a little bit of inventory clearing. I don't need that, I've got loads of those. We're going to get loads of slippery slime where we're going, so I'll hold on to those. Don't need rage potions. Sorcerer pants are a really good magic set, but we're not using magic. Okay, let's we're heading up to Morpha, the aquatic mass. I don't know if my microphone picked it up, but the doorbell went, and I'm wondering if there'll be any. I'm wondering if there'll be any interruptions when I'm, mid recording. Hopefully not, but maybe it's the delivery of my second monitor and my monitor stand, which would be pretty cool. I'm just going to get rid of that because we don't need to go there anymore. Something I haven't talked about, I don't think, is the mechanic for the slime in this area. So if you get hit by any of these blue orbs, like bubbles of water, or if you walk on blue slime, you get slippery movement for 6 seconds. And it makes it so it's like you're running on ice, sort of. You overshoot each of your movements, and it's harder to control them. We do have a little bit of help from a fishing talent called Steady Feet, which we are ranking up. So at max level we'll have 50% reduction of that. I've just realised what I've forgotten. I knew I'd forget something. I forgot to bring... So I'll show you what this does. It just kind of moves through the map. I don't actually know if it has any interaction or does any damage, but I drove through it, so I don't think it does any damage. So we'll go there later for the Omoroth. But yeah, the item that I forgot was the slime movement speed immunity. But we have... The buffs that we have are so strong that it I'm not too worried that it'll be a problem. Okay, so we are approaching the arena for this boss. So I'm just I'll probably do a little loop around and see if I can find a good place to disembark. That looks like it's where the boss is. This is one of my favourite music tracks in the game, the one playing right now. So it looks like we've done a lap of the entire island. But now that we've got the speedboat and we've got the oh, I haven't actually got the necklace on, but the next boss we'll have the even faster movement. Okay, we're actually connected with some other islands, so we're going to head back and we're just going to hop off and then use our pickaxe to... So we can use our Scarlet Garden Hoe to pick up any of the ground slime. And then we can... Crits there. The bubble gun, it is a ranged weapon. And it is quite fun to use. It's not going to be our main weapon, but I might try and show you what it does on some enemies another time. But we're not gonna be using it right now. So we just picked up Tome of the Deep, which is a summoning item. So that will be good for us to sell. I've just noticed and heard the screen shaking, which if you remember from the previous slime bosses means that we are getting close. Okay, there was the boss. The boss music started playing, but he didn't start the fight. What we want to do, like last time, is create an arena. If we were to fight him in a small space, it makes it much more difficult. So the first thing I'll do is mine an area around him, and then I'll fill in all the gaps with... This is just a personal preference. It doesn't actually matter what you fill the gaps in with, like which block. I just like to use the same block that the biome uses. You feel free to use, you know, stone or wood or... actually, I think you can fill in the floor with wood. I noticed as well, last time I filled in the gaps with bridges, but the slime boss, any slime boss breaks bridges when they land on them. So I learned my lesson. It's okay if we trigger the boss fight and he starts to kind of come at us, because we can just run away. Sometimes it makes me laugh that the music just keeps changing. No, that's not what I meant to do. As is the case with many kind of permadeath games, I find that sometimes I will take lots of precautions and then it ends up being a lot easier than I thought, but I guess I'd rather it that way than I just charge headfirst into something I'm not sure about. I've played a lot of this game, but I haven't played so much that I know everything off by heart. So I'm... yeah, take it nice and slow. I also quite like... I like using every system a game has. So for example, in this game I like using the gardening and the farming and the cooking and all those things to... I wouldn't say necessarily make it easier, but make it more engaging. So this is looking... If we get in trouble, this is probably going to be our way out. But there's a possibility that we start this fight and it's over quite quickly and we don't take any damage. But it's no guarantee, so therefore I think that's why I'm planning like this. Again, apologies if the music changing backwards and forwards is a little bit annoying. Reminds me of I had some friends visiting this weekend and we were talking about things that other people do that are annoying, or like icks and pet peeves and things, and one of them said when you know, if someone's being the DJ in charge of the Spotify playlist or something, and they don't let songs fully finish, you know, when you're playing a song and it's maybe halfway through and then they just go, oh, and this next one. It kind of reminds me of that, you know, we're listening to the ambient music and then all of a sudden we hear the boss theme. I believe that is all of the... I'm just laughing about it now. I believe that's all the slime, so... I'll briefly give a summary of the tactics, and then we're going to eat our buff foods and potions, and then we're going to fight him. So, like all slime bosses in the game, his standard attack is to leap in the air and smash down, and each slime boss hits harder and harder as we go up the biomes. He leaves blue slime on the floor, and the blue slime will slow us down. We don't have the potion... so we don't have the food immunity. I forgot to bring that, so it will slow us down. We do have our teleportation lens, so that will come in handy for dodging him. He also will... Let me just change my thing. He'll also summon these, or create these sort of small blue, like, water globules. Apologies in the background if you can hear some hoovering going on. Hopefully the microphone isn't picking it up, but maybe it is. If little noises like that bug you, then it will be over in a minute or two. I'm getting distracted. So these will damage us and also cause the slippery movement debuff, which means we'll have a harder time controlling our positioning. And I think he also summons little blue slimes during the fight, but I could be wrong. It's been a long time since I fought this boss, so I guess we'll find out when we start. So we're going to eat all of our food. So we've got some pudding, we've got a smoothie, we've got about 5 different oat cereals, so it's going to be a pretty big meal. Look at all those wonderful buffs. Here we go. He's got quite a bit of health. When we get the crits, that makes a big difference. Yeah, it's kind of a weak attack, that one, where he stops to sort of make all those water globules. He just opens himself up to be shot by us. So as you can see, he's summoning all of them, and we can just sit back and shoot him. There we go. Better safe than sorry, but overall pretty simple. Let's see if we get any good loot. This looks quite cool. I don't know if this was in the game when I last played. So we get plus max health, plus max armor, 5% critical hit chance, and the set bonus if we use all three is to gain 2% range damage every time an enemy is shot, stacking up to 10 times. That's probably a better single target set for us than the ranger set, so definitely going to hold on to that. And this is what I wanted, Morpha's bubble backpack. So it gives us 20 inventory slots and it gives us a movement speed increase. Morpha's ring, 36% critical hit damage. That's potentially going to be really nice for our setup later. And the slime helm's also a pretty decent sort of general stats, good max health, good armor, good damage bonus, so not bad. I'm going to get rid of some of the things that I'm not going to use. I'll get rid of one of the slime helmets because we're going to go and take on the next boss. And before I forget, let me swap over the boat speed necklace and the... Again, I can't use the active ability to shield myself, I don't think, but it's got good stats, armor, health, and attack speed. So that's why I'm using that for this next boss. And... oh no, I was looking for the speedboat, but I remember we picked it up, so... we're going to head down to the boss here. I did bring a second set of food buffs just in case it takes longer than 10 minutes, but as you can see with the necklace, we are now pretty quick. Yeah, I'm pressing spacebar to use my shield and it's not doing anything, so that confirms that the statistics still take effect. So the max health, armor, and attack speed still take effect, but the active ability is not able to be used, which is why the rift lens teleporting thing is not good this fight. So I remember this boss has quite a cool... ow. This boss has quite a cool arena that you can approach. I quite like the sort of the enemies in this zone. I find it quite fun to sort of speed around in the boat and dodge the shots from the tentacles. Not like that. But we're almost at 90 range, so I'll make sure to get that before we fight the boss. We'll probably get it from these next few enemies. We've got pretty decent armor and health, so I'm not too worried about the... kind of want to just see if I can shoot a few more enemies to hit 90 range skill, but it doesn't happen in the next minute or so. There we go. Okay. So that's going to give us an extra 8% critical hit damage, which you never know, maybe that's what makes the difference between us successfully killing the boss and not. So tactics for this boss, there are a few ways to approach it. One way, which I wouldn't say it's cheating, it feels a little bit cheaty to me, is you can turn this whole area into like bridges and you can run around on land and fight him. He will always appear in the water. You can't put bridges over these. So these kind of circular pools are where he can spawn. He sort of pops down and up. But you could kind of create lots of places for it. So And you also, I don't believe you can mine up these blocks as well. They're sort of permanent. I prefer the style of fighting him in his sort of natural territory, just in my speedboat. I find it quite fun, so we're going to stick with that. But the way this boss works is I'm going to equip the purple lure, the expert lure, and then I'm going to cast my fishing rod into one of these circular pools, and that will summon him. And when the fight starts, he will summon lots of tentacles which will try and attack us, and there'll be whirlwinds that we have to try and dodge, and he will every now and again submerge and then pop up in one of these pools. All our buffs have plenty of time left, so I'm going to eat... Not eat's probably the wrong word. I'm going to consume, drink a guardian potion. Actually, no, I'm going to... Good job, I bought a few spares. I'm going to... Because it takes a minute to sort of get the fishing setup ready. That buff's probably going to run out, so... Let me just check. I've got all the right gear. I'm going to use the octarine bow. That's run out of durability improvement, but it will still be good enough, I think. That's probably too short range for this fight. I've got my boat speed. The pet doesn't matter. I have the lure equipped. Let's do it. I think he looks really cool as well. And I like the music. So these whirlwinds, I think they sort of slow your movement speed and drag you in. Again, you can kind of cheese it by staying really, really far away. But again, I think that's kind of... I don't know, personally, especially if I'm playing a hardcore game, or a hardcore mode in a game, I like to make use of all the mechanics the game has to offer, you know, all the buffs, that kind of thing, but I don't typically like using cheeses or kind of cheap tactics, because I then think, well, why bother playing? Why bother making the game harder by playing hardcore and then just make it easier by using cheap tactics? That's the way I see it, at least. Might not be the same for everyone. I know it's not the same for everyone. And I think these tentacles are their melee range, but I'd rather clear them out in case I have to travel over there. Because I think they... You know, if you take a bit of damage from the whirlwinds and... I mean, there you go. The whirlwinds are doing about 50 to 60 damage. But there we go. We've killed Omoroth. A whisper echoes from the core. That tells us that we can unlock the next sort of signpost, the next signal to the next boss. And we unlock... So from Azios, the Sky Titan, we unlocked the 10% chance to spawn a Thunder Beam on a melee critical hit, which is useless for us. This one is amazing for us. So every time we hit something with a ranged attack, and it stacks. So if you do an attack that hits 5 people, you get 5 chances to spawn this. It gives us a 3% chance to spawn one of those tornadoes. So that's going to add to our damage quite a bit. I'm going to use that. Again, these scanners from bosses were added after I played the game last time, so I don't know what they show. So we can do that. The Moonstone is an offhand thing, and it's pretty useless for us because our mana pool is going to be tiny. Right, so what we're going to do is... I'm going to teleport to base, get all my equipment sorted, show you guys the next little kind of story segment, and then we'll probably wrap that up for today's episode. I'm now thinking, what if I forgot to press record? There's no sort of saving and loading in Core Keeper, it's just the world is constantly updated and saved, so if I did forget to record it, I'd still go back and do the bosses to show you guys, but I would have to say, hey, I've already found them accidentally. So first things first, I'm going to deposit. No, that's not. It helps to do it in order. First things first, I'm going to re-equip my land gear. And next, I'm going to disassemble. Disassemble's not a word, I don't think. Disassemble anything like that. I believe that's everything I'm going to do. I'm then going to quick stack. I'm going to plonk the next boss chest down. I quite like having them all at the base. This is just, you collect loads of figurines throughout the game. Each enemy has a very, very small chance to drop their own figurine, I believe. So I just create a kind of a little collection of them. Again, I'm sure people out there have made some really, really cool creative sort of base appearances, but I keep things pretty simple. Use that, pick up those. So next I'll sell things I don't need. I don't need any more seeds, I've got all the seeds I want. I'll put all the gear away, that might be useful. We got a second chest from the next boss. Octarine keys open Octarine, or locked Octarine chests, which just before I start the recording I opened 8 of them, so I haven't got any at the moment. And yeah, I think that's pretty much it for today. So what am I going to do off camera before the next episode? I'm going to probably farm those bosses a few more times to get the gear that I want from them. I'm going to get any upgrades and gear from what I can currently make. So I crafted the Octarine workbench. So I've made most of this stuff. And I've made the Octarine anvil, which is where I made the shield. The armor itself isn't very good for us. I made the bow here as well. So I'm going to go through and just, yeah, tune up my gear. And the plan is next episode to head. In fact, I'll leave it for next episode. I'll speak to the core at the start of next episode. But you might be able to see that we've got the circle in the center, which is the dirt biome. The first ring around the center is half Forgotten Ruins, the stone area, and half clay caves, and it kind of makes a Pokeball shape if you're familiar with Pokemon. And then the ring around that is made up of 3 sections. Each of them are a third. We have the wilderness here, Azios's wilderness, which is the green area. We have the sunken sea, which is the one we've just been exploring. And then the third area in the second ring is the Desert of Beginnings, and it's the last of this ring. And then there are still a few more areas after that. So we've got, I'd say at a guess, we're about halfway through the whole playthrough. So plenty more to come as long as Martin can stay alive. Yeah, it's been fun. It's been weird not having Twitch chat kind of talking to me, asking questions, kind of commenting on things or spamming emotes. But it's been cool to give this a try. I'm hoping that I did remember to record it. But the plan is I'll upload it to YouTube, so it will carry on from the current Core Keeper playlist. And I don't have a schedule in terms of how often I'll do these. I'll just try and do them as and when, so it might be that you get 1 or 2 episodes a week. There might be a week or 2 without them. But maybe if I like it and I kind of get into the routine of it, I'll try and do a more regular schedule. But at the moment, it's just going to be as and when. So thank you so much for hanging out, for watching or listening. I'll be honoured if you have this on in the background while you do something else. That's completely that'd be very cool. And I will see you in the next episode. Bye.